Hey, good afternoon to you. 406 now, News Talk 105.9 WMAL, where we're making sense of the news. Coming up this hour from the Center for Immigration Studies, Todd Bensman is here. He's got some brand new information on the illegal aliens, the Jordanian nationals who tried to ram their way through vehicle barriers into Marine Corps Base Quantico a couple of months ago. Remember that story? The press moved on rather quickly. The Biden administration tried to keep any information from getting out, but Todd Bensman was able to dig it up. We'll talk to him at the bottom of the hour. And then John Lott will be here at 5 o'clock as we engage on what is going on with Kamala Harris as she's going after guns. It's a favorite pastime of the left to try and disarm you. Kamala Harris will continue on in that awful tradition should you get the chance. You can join us 888-630-9625, 888-630-WMAL. A lot of reaction coming in now to President Trump's interview today in Chicago with the National Association for Black Journalists. Absolutely vicious treatment by ABC's Rachel Scott, who came across as just a left-wing hack. Harris Faulkner was also on that stage. She treated Trump very fairly. And there was a reporter from Semaphore who played a smaller role in the whole event. The interview went on for about half an hour. It was delayed by half an hour because the event organizers couldn't get the microphones to work. And so finally, President Trump is able to get on stage, does a half hour with them, and it was a pretty tense half hour at times. Now the headlines are coming out. President Trump, it says New York Times headline: Trump questions Harris's black identity in combative interview. Did he question it? All he said was, look, Kamala's history here has been she's been telling everyone she's an Indian American for all these years. Now she's claiming to be black, not talking about the Indian side so much. That seems weird. Somebody should ask her about it. And Trump said, I love everybody. So I'm not really choosy on the subject. In fact, Sagar Enjeti, an old colleague of mine, he just shared to Twitter the following, to X, the following. A New York Times headline from just 6 days ago. Literally, this is the headline. Harris's Indian heritage is deeply felt, if little advertised. What do you mean, little advertised? What, they're not accentuating that? Why aren't they emphasizing that? Why isn't Kamala Harris making that a fixture of the campaign? Why isn't she bringing it up all the time? Why is she downplaying it? Why is it so little advertised? So Trump noticed the same phenomenon that the New York Times did 6 days ago. And this goes to Trump's ability. There are a lot of people on the right for years who have said that Trump plays 4D chess. I don't know if it's 4D chess. I don't know if he's seeing all of the plays ahead of him. But his instincts often lead to successful news cycles for him. Now, the press does not want that to be the case, clearly. But what ends up happening is now we're going to get a smattering of headlines all across the place. How dare Trump question the way that Kamala Harris identifies herself? But then it's going to lead to the obvious question, well, wait a second. Has Kamala Harris identified herself in different ways in the past? And then people start looking for the answer to that. And sure enough, they'll find, oh, yeah, she did. In fact, Trump brought up today that Kamala Harris failed the bar exam the first time she took it. Is that true? Yes, it's true. Kamala Harris failed the bar exam on the first pass. And so Trump brings it up today, and it's the kind of thing that we were like, really? And it gets at a core point. The left is trying to wield this idea that Trump and Vance are weird. They're weird. And the goal behind that is it's a vibe, right? If you can say that your opponent is weird, which is a synonym for creepy, oh, he's so creepy. What they're trying to do is kind of leave in your mind this impression that, oh, he's running against the female candidate, and the female candidate thinks he's creepy, and men can be threatening and weird and creepy, and so maybe he is. And that's the word. They want that to stick. It's not about a policy debate. It's an appeal to sort of an animal instinct that you use to protect yourself, or that women use to protect themselves. Oh, weird. So that's the goal there. So what is the counter to that? Well, you can try and engage in a policy debate. There are definitely voters who care about the policy side of things, but there are also plenty of people who really do just kind of ride the vibes, whether we like it or not. Not everybody is steeped in all of the details or is thinking that clearly about why their lives have been so upended and who's to blame for it. And that would be Joe Biden and Kamala Harris in large part. And so what can Trump do? Well, Trump can successfully paint an image of Kamala Harris as a phony, as an opportunist, as someone who reinvents herself at any given moment merely to suck up to the crowd she's in front of, but not to meaningfully improve their lives in any way. And if there's one thing that Americans really don't like, it's phonies. It's fakes, frauds who are looking to defraud them. And so part of the mission here, and I think that President Trump instinctively knows to do, is to point to Kamala Harris and go, this lady's a fraud. Everything about her. She's like constantly representing herself in different ways and then pretending it wasn't different in the past. She now claims she wasn't the border czar. I wasn't responsible for that, when she very much was. It just keeps happening. Let me go to the phones. I've got a call coming in now from John from Washington, D.C. John, good afternoon, sir. You're on the Vince Coglianese Show.
Hey, Vince, grand show as always.
Thank you, sir.
Hey, just wanted to highlight Ms. Scott's comments. You know, again, it frustrates me to no end as an African-American where we don't know our history. The best she can pull out is Johnson and the Civil Rights Act and so forth and so on. Yeah, key, that was very important, obviously significant in our history, but he was one of the biggest racists there were. He didn't want to do that. He did it for votes. And that was sort of the bottom line there. So we can go through the history about great presidents in our lifetime, but if she just did not have a history of the significant presidents that have done things for African Americans.
So let me just to reset it just a tiny bit so people know what you're talking about, John. President Trump brought up something that he has said before. He goes, I think I was the greatest president for black Americans since Abraham Lincoln, he said today on stage. And the retort from the ABC reporter, Rachel Scott, was, wait, even better than Lyndon Johnson, the Civil Rights Act? Now, what she's excluding and what you're referencing, John, is a number of elements here. LBJ is reported to have actually been viciously racist and, in fact, very much transactional in this, suggesting it wasn't LBJ credited with saying, I will have those N-words voting for me for 200 years, for Democrats for 200 years. That seems like a big deal. Maybe you should, contemplate that as you're running down the history here. The other piece is that the Civil Rights Acts of the 1960s were passed with Republican support. The Republicans are the ones who got those civil rights bills across the finish line, and that did not come up in Rachel Scott's assessment, did it?
Yeah, no, not at all. And Vince, that's why I enjoy your show, man. Very knowledgeable, spot on.
Well, John, I appreciate your call. Thank you very much. Very knowledgeable too. Good to have you. Good to have you on the show, brother. So that's John, annoyed at the left-wing claptrap coming out of the mouth of at least one of the reporters who was sitting on that stage today. Not much of a reporter. She's a lot more journalism to do. Keep digging in on that story and then get back to us. Let's see. I've got Kate calling in from Manassas now, line 1. Kate, good afternoon. You're on the Vince Coglianese Show.
Hi. I just wanted to say, people talk about weird.
Yeah.
They should really look in the mirror with people like that Levine person and that Brinkman, or the one that takes the luggage, and
Brinton. Yeah, there's a couple of characters. You mentioned Brinkman. Remember Sam Brinkman-Fried? He's the gigantic Democrat donor who went to jail. He's one of the biggest Democrat donors in the whole country, and was a major force in getting Biden elected. And he went to jail because he defrauded so many poor people. But you're right. And Rachel Levine, also a freak. Richard Levine pretends to be Rachel Levine, dressed in a military admiral's uniform as a woman. And then Sam Brinton is the bald guy who I always say looks like kind of a warped Matt Damon, who steals women's luggage, wears their clothing, takes pictures. Yeah.
Talk about weird.
Talk about weird. Go ahead, Kate.
That's all. It's just amazing watching this whole thing go down. It's very entertaining. I mean, myself, I'm making popcorn. And this next couple months will be really interesting.
Well, I like the optimism you have that you're making popcorn, enjoying it, and watching. I really hope we can get this thing across the finish line. The left is very convinced, Kate, that Kamala Harris is their ticket to more power, and I really hope they're wrong about that. And it's going to take a little bit of popcorn, but a lot of work for sure. And I really hope this thing goes the right way.
In the end, truth wins. And time is a very interesting thing. And I think as we go down the path, we're going to have to choose between war and peace. And my bet is on the majority wanting peace. I don't care which side, what age, what income. I think everyone wants peace for their children and grandchildren.
I agree. It's a great country.
That's what's going to unite us.
It's a great country. We just have to get our hands back on the steering wheel, Kate. I totally agree.
Okay,
thank you.
Thank you.
Very much.
Bye-bye.
That's Kate in Manassas. I've got Chris in Frederick calling in, line 2. Chris, good afternoon, sir. You're on the Vince Coglianese Show.
Hi, Vince. Good to talk to you again.
Hey, Chris.
I just wanted to add to a previous caller's comment about LBJ and the Civil Rights Bill.
Yeah.
You know, another point that's even a finer point, I think, is the Republicans authored that bill that LBJ signed. Mm-hmm. He even gave a very public commendation to the Republican, who I think was like from Michigan or something, who for his help. And his help specifically in getting Democrats to vote for it, because the majority of Democrats were against it. So they authored it, they got Democrats to vote for it, and by the way, they wrote all of the previous and passed all of the previous civil rights bills, which there were about 100 of them going back to the the Civil War.
Yeah.
And that includes the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment.
It's totally right.
Republicans passed.
Totally right. And this is an interesting thing, Chris, because all the history that you bring up, super important. And you know, the left likes to talk about racist institutions, and we've got to reckon with these institutions, these dreadful institutions. Have you noticed that they never do that with the Democrat Party? They never once pause to say that this is an institution whose statues need to be torn down and we need to upend. They don't rename the Democrats, do they?
That's why they tore down all those statues on Monument Avenue in Richmond. Those were the Civil War heroes of the Democrats.
Yeah, no, that's true. But what they try to do is extend the sin onto the rest of us. We're like, no, I think this is a kind of a unique thing for your party that you're recognizing.
Oh no, you're right, and that's why they will tell you that there was the Great Party Switch, right? That all the racist Democrats left and went to work for the Republicans in the 60s, which didn't happen, and you could prove it. All you have to do is look at the state elections.
It's a weird thing to claim that, too. It's a weird thing to claim that, too, because they continue to be the party who judges people on the basis of their skin color. So I'm not sure what they mean by switch.
Right.
It's still happening. Chris, thank you. Excellent rundown of the history here. Chris in Frederick today. Okay, hold on. I've got a lot more for you, including Kamala's visit to Georgia yesterday. This was not a Trump speech. Trump goes for 90 minutes usually? Big crowd. It's wild. There was a nice-sized crowd there, a lot of energy. She went for 20 minutes on teleprompter. I'll share a little bit of it with you. Kamala Harris went to Georgia yesterday. Isn't there a song about that? I don't know. Whatever. I'll just keep thinking about it. Anyway, the point is she went to Georgia yesterday, and before she got out on stage, Megan the Stallion, she's not actually a horse, just to be clear. She just calls herself a stallion. She twerked for Kamala, and I'm wondering, does this get votes?
He know who I am, ain't have to say my name. Stack it up like Texas, but this money ain't a can. What type of cow I eat holiday. Drinking out the bottle, getting twisted, married son. Big exotic herb, man, it's a crop. What's too expensive? Ain't no way I'm getting caught.
You should see. There's an old woman right behind her. So Megan the Stallion is shaking her rump at the crowd. She's giving them a rump show. And right behind her is an old woman who does not know what to do. She's just frozen in place. She looks like Joe Biden during a campaign speech. She was just completely frozen. And there's all these people dancing around her. She's not dancing. She's just what am I doing here? She looked like my parents when they took me to a movie that had 3 F-bombs when we were 12 years old. And on the 3rd F-bomb, it's yeah, maybe we should go. We stand up in the theater. We walk out. That was wild. Does twerking get votes? Has America changed so much that that's the way things work now? Can you just twerk your way to the presidency? She was, I swear. It was a little different than a Trump rally. And By the way, the beat on this is a little harder to twerk to be honest with you.
And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today.
So, Lee Greenwood, he's great American. Megan Thee Stallion recorded a TikTok video, Chinese TikTok, with Kamala Harris backstage. They were very excited to be hanging out together.
What's up, hotties? It's your girl, Megan Thee Stallion, aka the Hot Girl Coach, reporting live.
Whoa. I'm sorry, one moment. Just want to see if I understand that.
What's up, hotties? It's your girl, Megan Thee Stallion, aka the Hot Girl Coach, reporting live.
What's up, everybody? It's your girl, Meg Thee Stallion, I think, reporting live.
With the future president of the United States.
Got that?
What do you have to say to the American people?
We are not going back.
What's happening? I don't know. Maybe that wins elections. Maybe I'm in the minority now. That's, twerking your way to the presidency. It could happen. Kamala Harris was something yesterday. She made a claim that Trump doesn't want to debate her, that Trump is running away from a debate. Please, trust me. I think that Trump would be very happy to debate you. I can guarantee you Kamala Harris is not interested in very many free-form events.
I do hope you'll reconsider to meet me on the debate stage. Because as the saying goes, if you've got something to say,
Yeah, you hear the sound there. People very excited, especially after that warm-up act. There was a booty shaking at them, and they were having the time of their lives. All right, coming up, we will be joined by Todd Bensman from the Center for Immigration Studies. We'll take a break from the twerking coverage to find out why two illegals tried to break their way into Quantico Marine Corps Base. A lot more information coming out. Todd has the exclusive, and he's ahead. Hey, good afternoon to you. 4:35 here, News Talk 105.9 WMAL, where we're making sense of the news. Coming up, John Lott will be with us from the Crime Prevention Research Center. And we'll talk about some of the many myths the left is advancing, all in the service of disarming you. John actually looks into the data. He's got the details. That's ahead of 5 o'clock. And you can join us at 888-630-9625, 888-630-WMAL. It was May 3rd of this year, many months ago now, when two illegal Jordanian nationals drove a box truck onto Quantico Marine Corps Base in Virginia and then attempted to ram their way through a barrier which stopped their advance. But we really haven't learned much about that event. Most of what I just said is almost entirely the details that we've had for months. That is until today. Todd Bensman from the Center for Immigration Studies has an important new report on this subject. He's the Senior National Security Fellow there and the author of the book Overrun, How Joe Biden Unleashed the Greatest Border Crisis in U.S. History. Todd, great to have you back with us, sir.
Great to be here. Thank you.
So thank God for you that you've been persistent on this story. Give us an update, Todd, on what you have learned and to the extent that we need to set this story up again for us.
Sure. Well, we wanted the government to just give us some basic details about this, like their names. So we put a FOIA in, and the government attorneys got back to us. These two have been charged with criminal trespassing federally. So we figured, well, let's get the names and some basic information. They gave us some reports that were so heavily redacted you couldn't tell what happened, including their names. And they said, well, we can't give you the names because even though they've been criminally charged in our court system, they have a right to privacy.
What? Wait, but I'm sorry, but
they have a right to privacy.
I know this is not your argument.
And they also,
Todd, I know this is not your argument, but immediately when you say that, I'm like, well, that's funny because American citizens aren't afforded that privacy, right? Like, if I was caught robbing a store, my name would be all over the place, local news headlines. Anybody for that matter. So why do two illegal Jordanian nationals get such extraordinary privileges?
Well, because the government said they think that these two guys have a personal right to privacy, and that releasing their names would invade that privacy, and especially on the grounds that there's minimal public interest in the public knowing anything about them, including their names. So, but I understood that they.
I'm sorry, Todd, I don't mean to interrupt you all the time, but I just want to make sure I get the details here. What agency said that to you, that there was a minimal public interest?
The U.S. Department of Justice.
Nice. Okay, go ahead.
The U.S. Department of Justice. Okay. And their letter is published on our site in our prior story about this, which I believe is linked in the current one at CIS.org.
Yes.
Anyway, I knew that their names eventually we could find them if we looked hard enough in the court system. It took a long time. We were going down to the courthouse in Alexandria, Virginia, and finally found their names and their cases. It's Hassan Y. Hamdan and Mohammed K. Dabos of Jordan. And they had a hearing actually on July 22nd, an initial appearance hearing. The government weirdly waited for 2.5 months after the incident, the breach attack, to file charges, probably knowing that people would be looking in the court system for the charges. And there they were, filed on July 9th. This incident happened on May 3rd. So that's an unusually long period of time. I used to cover the federal court system for years when I worked for the Dallas Morning News. I had an office inside the federal court building. This is what I did for a living. And I knew that eventually we would find them, and we did. And they had a court hearing. We missed the court hearing because we only found out about it after the fact. But I also understood that we could order the transcripts of those hearings. And we did that, and we got those. So the piece out today, this morning, at CIS.org, has kind of the whole story as much as we know about these two gentlemen. It does appear that they are released, or that they had been released in the court hearing. You could see in the transcript that that the prosecutors were negotiating their terms of release, which just included, don't go anywhere near Quantico again or any other military facility. And it appears as though they are released. Those conditions did get signed and filed with the court. We have those. Those are up on our site as well. And everything we know, at this point. I did hire somebody in the Middle East to search social media in the Arabic language. But these names are kind of over there, kind of like, John Smith. We couldn't really narrow it down too well to find out more about it. But hopefully, the government will ideally come out and say, hey, this wasn't a terrorism thing. Just chill out. Go away. There's nothing here. It's a big nothing burger. Just tell us and we'll go away. But what's kind of fueling this continued curiosity is that they refuse to say anything at all and really seem like they're hiding the peas under the potatoes. They just are going to extraordinary lengths to not talk about this case, anything about this. One of them crossed the southern border in April, just a few weeks before doing this. And the other one was a student visa holder who apparently never went to school after he got it and overstayed his visa. And, why are they releasing him? Why are they really releasing either one of them at this point? And, what's their immigration status? Are we trying to deport them, or are we giving them asylum or something? I mean, what's really happening? And I go back again to, what was the threat here? Just tell us. Say something.
Yes.
Because the longer you don't say anything, the more suspicious it seems, and the more people like me stay on this.
And so, and one of the reasons why we might expect them to still be in custody is because, first of all, they're here illegally. So once they're done with whatever criminal procedure that exists, they should be handed over to ICE and deported from the United States. And I'm not seeing a lot of evidence that's happening. The other piece is that they rammed the gate at Quantico. They rammed one of the vehicle barriers. And if help me remember here, Todd Bensman, my understanding is they were stopped initially. They were speaking to the gate guards, and then they decided just to floor it and to go deeper into the base, despite the guards telling them not to, right?
Well, there was one other step in between there. They said they were Amazon delivery subcontractors. They came up to the main gate, but they didn't have any credentials. So the sentries pulled them, directed them over to a secondary inspection area for further questioning. Apparently they went over there, and before the Marines could get up to them and question them, they hit the gas and barreled into the base, and would have kept going, except that the sentries were able to deploy these sort of barriers that pop up out of the middle of the road. You've seen those. And it stopped them cold in their tracks. They were arrested, charged with misdemeanor B, trespassing on a military facility.
Yes.
Carries a 6-month sentence and a $5,000 fine. Not a huge beef, but, they arrested them. It seems like they were in custody for a while, longer than your average border crosser, who are released in a day or two. He was released in a day or two, no doubt. And the visa holder probably should never have been released, but they were in custody for longer than normal, probably while an investigation was underway of some sort. But all these agencies have circled the wagon. We've called all of them, the FBI, the ICE, DOD, for further information on this. We've had FOIA out. Just give us a break here, man. I mean, you're making us work a lot of overtime on something that, maybe it wasn't a terror attack. And if it's not, just say so.
Well, the dodginess of it all and the refusal to give you meaningful information on an issue that is not of minimal importance, but instead of broad community and potentially national importance, is very suspicious. And it suggests that they are hiding it for some reason. It may be as simple as it's a political reason, that they don't really want any more damage to Biden's credibility and his administration for having let people like this into the country. But at this point, just add it to the pile. I mean, there are so many illegals who have come in and committed awful crimes on Biden's watch. What might we learn about this event?
Right. I mean, and also I just want to point out that it's not just the Center for Immigration Studies that's after this. There are 5 different congressional inquiries, written ones, from the Senate side and from the House side, asking for information about this, and they've all been blown off, ignored, every single one of them. And the governor of Virginia put a letter in too, asking. And so now, finally, Mark Green over at the House Homeland Security Committee has subpoenaed Alejandro Mayorkas to come in and testify under subpoena about this and some other cases as well. So when they say it's not a matter of public interest, all these congressmen and lawmakers certainly beg to differ.
Yeah, this is all very suspicious, and it's not the only one. Aren't there a number of military bases that have been breached in recent years? I mean, this is sort of the latest that we've experienced.
Yes, there's media reporting out there, pretty credible media reporting, especially showing Chinese immigrants, border crossers who somehow keep showing up on military property, saying, "Oh, I got lost." I think there's like 100 of those things all across the country. What's that all about? They're going to subpoena him. They've subpoenaed him about that as well. Nobody wants to straighten it out. I think it would behoove them to just straighten it out.
Yeah.
Why not?
And
if there's nothing there, you've got nothing politically to worry about.
Back when you and I were talking about this originally, a tipster who was in the area and snapped a photo of this truck that was stopped at the Marine Corps base gate, shared it with me, and I posted it to the web. And I noticed the back of the box truck, there's no visible license plate on it. I could be wrong. There may be a license plate somewhere in there, but I couldn't see it at all. And that always struck me as bizarre. And to this very day, still no answers on this, huh?
That's right. Those trucks, I looked them up. I saw the photo. You shared it with us. We did the best we could with what was in the photo. It's a Freightliner, pretty common rental. Lots of different agencies rent those things out. We don't have any idea where they rented it or anything like that, but I'm sure the investigators looked it up to try to verify if they actually worked for Amazon as a subcontractor. It would be nice to know, for example, did they really work for a subcontractor that was doing deliveries? Anything really on this thing. But you're right, there are many, many other cases like this. There were 8 Tajikistanis, border crossers, all of them, who crossed in, and the FBI rolled them up in a 3-state wiretap sting for allegedly plotting to do some kind of bombing, to build bombs or something, and that they're all arrested, and we haven't heard a single word about any of that. It's been months, and nobody's really asking in the media, like, what's wrong with you people? If you're listening to this and you're in the media, like, get on the stick.
Yeah. And also, like, you would think Amazon would rush a statement out, These aren't our guys. Like, no, of course not.
Well, somebody called Amazon. A reporter in the conservative media called Amazon. I think it was Fox News, and they said, we have no record of these guys.
Well, there you go. So all the more reason why we should be deeply suspicious of their intentions. Todd Bensman, thank you for staying on this story, and we'll keep checking in with you on so many issues, including this one. Thank you, Todd. Okay, it's an interesting phone call coming in from Jess in Alexandria on line 2. This is Jess wants to follow up on a conversation I had earlier with John in Washington, D.C. We were talking about just the racial history of the Democrats, including Lyndon Johnson. Jess, good to have you on the show. Go ahead, Jess. What's on your mind?
Hey, Vince, you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you great.
Great. Hey, just for a little credibility, my dad was stationed at Bergstrom Air Force Base, early 60s to the late 60s, and I guess he was a DEI hire because he was selected to be the driver for President Johnson and his family whenever they flew to Bergstrom and they were going to, it may have been when he was a senator, but when they'd fly into Bergstrom and he'd have to go out to the ranch in Central Texas or to other events.
Well, why did you say your dad's a DEI hire? Why did you say your dad was a DEI hire?
I think so because we're Hispanic.
Okay.
So Hispanic last name. Hey, they're trying to make Johnson to be a supporter of minorities. And
so you think Jess, that they literally put your dad in the vehicle with Johnson in order to make Johnson seem more open-minded?
That's what I'm thinking.
Okay, got it.
He was a staff sergeant in the Air Force at the time. And I can remember going to – and, oh, by the way, he used to walk around with an all the way with LBJ button on his shirt whenever he's not in uniform. And so did my mom.
Oh, okay.
But I can remember at social events – my dad talking to his friends, and he always said, you never talk politics, in social events. But he did sometimes if they brought it up. And I can remember him saying that he'd be driving, they'd stop at a light, and everybody recognized he was either Senator Johnson, I think he was senator at the time. They'd stop at a light, and people would recognize him. And he would say, yeah, insert N-word here. I got your number, so, and he would say the same thing about, yeah, you lazy Hispanic, I got your number. So I tend to believe the rumor of him, stating, for black people, we give them welfare and we'll have them vote Democrat for the next 200 years.
Yeah.
So, so I just want to call in and let you know that even though my dad was a supporter, he kind of told us the ugly side of some of the things he used to say.
So your dad had firsthand experience with Lyndon Johnson and was driving him.
Absolutely. In fact, sometimes he even brought the car over. One time he brought the car over to the house, and we thought he bought a new car. We were all excited because, no, I'm taking President Johnson or Senator Johnson.
What a wild, wild world we live in. Well, thank you for sharing that story. So there you go, some firsthand evidence of just how awful LBJ was.
Real quick, one more thing. My wife loves listening to you.
Well, I love having your wife listening, and I'm very grateful for her excellent husband calling in today. Thank you, Jess.
Absolutely, Vince. Have a great day.
You too, sir. All right, hang with us. Coming up, John Lott has the data on how Kamala wants your guns.